Can you cash a check that's not made out to you at Capital One? Ever run into a situation where you need to cash a check, but for some reason it isn't written in your name? Maybe you're helping out a friend or family member who can't get to the bank themselves. Perhaps you received a check from a client or sold something online. Whatever the scenario, the question pops up, can you cash that check at your bank even if it's not addressed directly to you? This is a surprisingly common situation, and the answer can vary depending on your bank's policies. Today, we're diving deep into the specifics of Capital One and their take on cashing third-party checks. The short answer, generally no. For the most part, Capital One doesn't allow you to cash checks written out to someone else. Their mobile deposit system also restricts deposits to checks made payable to you or a joint account holder. This policy exists for several reasons. Banks prioritize security and want to ensure the legitimacy of the transaction. Cashing a third-party check creates an opportunity for fraud, as the intended recipient might not be aware of the transaction. Understanding endorsements. But what if the check is endorsed? Endorsement simply means the payee, the person the check is written to, signs the back of the check, typically below the signature line. This signifies they're transferring ownership of the check to someone else. Even with an endorsement, Capital One likely won't budge on cashing the check directly. However, endorsement opens doors to alternative routes we'll explore later. So, you're stuck? Not exactly. While Capital One might not be the solution for cashing someone else's check, there are still options. Here are a few alternatives to consider. Contact the payer. This might be the simplest solution. Reach out to the person or company who issued the check and explain the situation. They might be willing to reissue the check in your name, eliminating the whole third-party issue. Have the payee deposit it. If the original payee has a bank account, they can deposit the check themselves and then transfer the money to you electronically or through another method. Use a check cashing service. Check cashing services are businesses specializing in handling various checks, often including third-party checks. However, keep in mind these services typically charge a fee, sometimes a percentage of the check amount. Ask about account exceptions. Capital One might have exceptions to their policy for certain account types or situations. It's always worth contacting Capital One directly and explaining your situation. They might be able to offer alternative solutions or provide specific guidance based on your account details. Important considerations. No matter which route you choose, remember these key points. Be wary of scams. If someone offers you a check and pressures you to cash it quickly, especially if it involves a significant amount, proceed with extreme caution. It could be a scam. Verify identification. If you do use a check cashing service, make sure they require proper identification from both you and the original payee, if involved. Understand fees. Be upfront about any fees associated with cashing a third-party check. Whether it's a check cashing service or a bank with an exception policy, factor in the fees before proceeding. Remember, while Capital One doesn't generally allow cashing third-party checks, there are alternative solutions available. Always prioritize security and be aware of potential scams. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.